In April 2017, the John Bunyan Museum, in partnership with the Bedford Chronicles, embarked on an exciting adventure. The journey from Bunyan to the Brickworks.
John Bunyan Museum tells the story of John Bunyan, 17th century writer and preacher, and it was really great to be able to show people of Bedford that he's still relevant today and that there are parallels with his life and his impact on Bedford.
It's a part of our history which we're actually losing, and it was important for us to actually try and tell people how important this part, both parts of the heritage of Bedford are, and to try and preserve that and get that knowledge out there, so that certainly in the case of the people who worked at the brickyards, that isn't lost, because that's potentially a part of our heritage which could be lost forever. This project is a very personal project for me because I'm actually first generation born in this country, and my father was actually in one of the camps in Europe after World War II. He came from the Czech Republic, and he took up work at the Stewart Brickworks. So, for me, it's actually part of my own journey and my own heritage. The parallels between the two journeys, even though John Bunyan's journey was more of a spiritual journey, whereas, of course, the people who came to work at the brickyards was obviously more of a physical journey, the parallels between the two are very similar because it was all about a journey of hope. That's what essentially the whole thing was about. So for John Bunyan, it was the hope of a better life. And for the people who came to work at the brickyards, it was also the hope of a better life.
So thanks to Heritage Lottery funding, we've been able to get the money to go out to schools in the first instance and to run workshops and assemblies and just tell them about these two amazing sort of bits of Bedford's history.
The project aimed to be a collaboration between many local Bedford schools, documenting the stories and experiences from the people who used to work at the Stewart Brickworks in Bedfordshire.
What we're going to do is, for the workshops, we're going to do how the century actually shaped him, because the point of the assemblies is to basically get the message out to people about the project, let everybody know what it's all about, and hopefully get them to engage with their families and their heritage, so that they can share that memory and heritage with us.
Many of our students are from a multicultural background. Many of them will have parents, grandparents, great-grandparents who have a story to tell about why they're here in Bedfordshire and the countries that they've come from and the reasons why they left those countries. And I think the Assembly prompted them to think a little bit about that.
The Bunyan to Brickyard project has supported us in developing our delivery of the arts and given us a wonderful opportunity to cultivate creativity in school.
The journey from Bunyan to the Brickworks is a fantastic outreach project for the school to be involved in. It allows the students to reconnect with our local heritage, and I'm so pleased that St Thomas More got to be a part of this process.
We've seen, I think now, somewhere getting close to about 2,000 children, and they've been brilliant. It's been absolutely fantastic. The response has been really great, as indeed has the response from the teachers, which has been absolutely fantastic. So, we're really delighted with the way things are going at the moment. It's very good.
Following on from the assemblies, all-day workshops took place in a number of primary and secondary schools in Bedford. Some workshops looked at what shaped John Bunyan and made him the man he was. This was then related to what people's lives were like moving to Bedford, to work at the Brickworks, and the challenges they had to face.
We're also asking the children to design stained glass windows for us, which will be made to form the kind of centrepiece of an exhibition that we'll be having towards the end of the year, which will kind of bring together all these stories and just sort of generally be able to kind of then showcase to the rest of Bedford these amazing stories.
There were some very interesting designs being created, and the students thoroughly enjoyed this part of the project. There was also an opportunity to interview friends, family and the public about their stories of the Brickworks.
We wanted to give some of the children the skills and the confidence to go and do it themselves. So we'll be training some of the children up to be journalists and to go and interview members of their own family, but also come for a special day where we can get everyone together and help share those stories and use the children as the interviewers to kind of learn at sort of a multi-generational level.
Steve is the ex-editor. Have you all heard of the paper that Beds on Sunday?
Yes.
Well, Steve used to run it, and he ran it for many, many years. Yes. So he's a very experienced journalist, and he's interviewed lots and lots of people. So he's here today to hopefully give you some ideas and thoughts about how you're going to do some interviewing in a couple of weeks' time.
Steve gave a brief masterclass to the students on how to ask the right questions to gain the right answers to build their story.
You want to inform them, you therefore need information, so you need to, you've got to think about the questions that will give you the information you need. And because these are specific interviews, that information will be fairly specific, and I'll go into what those sort of leading questions might be in a little while. So
I was asked to help, as a former editor of Bedfordshire on Sunday and group editor, if I could help how they should ask questions and what questions they should ask. I was delighted to help because I think it's a very worthwhile project. I have lectured on immigration into Bedford, so I know something about the subject as well. And I think it's really good that this involvement, it's really good to keep the archive and history of people who came to Bedford, and it's even better for these children to actually work at this and to be positive about Bedford being a multicultural town. Whenever you're talking to someone, you need to make sure you've got the right question to ask, because they need to find out about that person, and vague questions often get vague answers, so they need to ask direct questions about where they came from or where their families came from, why they came over here, how they got here and what they thought of it. I mean, it's not just, are you having a nice time kind of question. So I think it's important to ensure that the right questions are asked.
Born in this country? Yes, I was born in Bedford.
I'm very impressed how they're doing it. They're taking it on board. Of course, the very nature of the subject matter is something that's relevant to them, because most schools, including this one, are multicultural schools anyway. So it isn't history that is something that's obtuse or miles away from where their lives are. It is about them as well. So that makes it even more important.
On Saturday the 22nd of July, the Bunyan Museum was open to the general public to share their memories and stories of moving and settling in Bedford and of working at the Stuartby Brickworks.
I remember my dad saying that when he first came here, he couldn't speak a word of English. He couldn't, it took him a long time to get used to the diet, the weather, the snow. My God, he said the snow, he'd never seen snow before.
And this is one of his best friends at the Brickyards, and they were firm friends. He was a blocker at Brickyards. He was presented, as many were, with his gold watch when he'd done 25 years of service in 1977, and he retired in 1990. Never went home and kept Bedford as his home for the rest of his life.
The day was a huge success, with many people turning out for the session, including ex-workers from the Brickworks, plus family and friends. The pride and passion for these people who helped build and make Bedford what it is today was strongly spoken about.
So you had the guys from poorer backgrounds, okay, or not privileged enough to stay in their countries and had to come away, whether to work or because of political reasons or whatever like that, and they came here and they provided manual labour for this country. And it's amazing that we had people from somewhere else give this work to here, to what we have now, and it's amazing. And every time I see a London brick, I think, we were part of that. We were part of this history, which is amazing.
So what did the students think of the project?
I really enjoyed it because I've never interviewed anyone before, but it was actually quite hard as well. I never realised it was so hard.
I really like doing art. It's one of my favourite lessons, and I think it's really nice to be doing community artwork.
It makes me be creative, and I really enjoy being part of the community and helping people do things that they do.
My design is about a boat on a sea to represent the journey, and has like reddish yellow and orangey colour to represent the Brickworks, and has the Pilgrim's Progress to represent John Bunyan.
People say that the more you learn about the past, the better the future will be, which I think is very true.
The interviews carried out by the students were captured and turned into the short film Bunyan to the Brickworks, Stories. This was screened at the Bunyan Meeting House, where many people, including some of those featured telling stories, came to watch and support.
West Indies, they all people work together, you know.
Once the film was over, the stained glass windows created by the schools were unveiled and later displayed in the Pride, Inspiration, Hope exhibition at the Bunyan Gallery. Thanks to this project, the workers, their lives, and Bedford's heritage will not be forgotten.